Why, hello there. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbot333 and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order as, formerly Chita now, the Far Eastern Imperial Realm. Now last time we were here together, I believe we finished up reunification of the Far East. And after that, we are going ahead and working on some reindustrialization. We also have unlocked the dinner preparations, which I don't think I read last time, so I'll go ahead and do that soon. We've also worked on some military improvements. We started a little bit on the political tree, but I'm going to swap right over to the economic side of things soon. And then, yeah, we just kind of hung out from there, which is okay with me. It's all coming along, I think. You know, we might want to go ahead and do this real quick to get that bonus to the military professionalism. I think we will do that shortly. But, you know what? Let's go ahead and just kick it. The AB is kind of getting their teeth kicked in. But, anyway, presenting His Imperial Majesty Mikhail II, Emperor of all Russia. Mikhail emerged from his entourage, coming within sight of the vast row of troops that stood before him. Upon seeing their Tsar, the men stood at attention and gave their due salutes. Hail, Tsar Mikhail! Despite being caught off guard by the overwhelming cry of his name, Mikhail tried to keep it his level best to maintain a dignified composure. The procedure went on as planned as the Emperor made his way down the row, exchanging handshakes and salutes. He couldn't help but notice that all these young men looked at him with a great deal of admiration, as though he were a figure of divine status. One of the officers he had come to, who couldn't have been older than 20. Hail, Your Imperial Majesty. It is an honor to serve you. Mikhail sheepishly went for a handshake. No, the honor's all mine. I'm truly grateful for your service. Thor gave a slight, nervous smile. He glanced back at Boris Shepanov, who was standing beside him. The old general had his arms crossed, and his impatient expression clearly indicated that he wanted Mikhail to pick up the pace. As the inspection concluded, and the royal entourage made its way back to their transportation, Mikhail passed by a sight that had caught his eye. A large bronze statue depicting a rogue Cossack warrior on horseback was prominently displayed out of the army base. Mikhail stopped briefly to examine the bronze figure, captivated by the pose of the warrior. The Tsar imagined himself in his place, with thousands of young men looking to him for guidance in the heat of battle. Well, a man can dream. We still have to decide what we want to do with this dinner preparations. As fate draws closer to the inevitable confrontation between Tsar's loyalists and Shepanov's militarists, tension seems to steepen with each sunrise. Despite all our efforts to smooth over relations and attempt a peaceful coup d'etat, this has apparently become impossible. We should take as much action as possible, ensure that when the time comes, our side is best prepared for showdown. Do some loyalist decisions. Employ some loyalists for land clearing. Now we've secured the region, it's time to use our resources to expand upon what we have, and what better resource than our loyal followers to do just that. Focus on civilian investments in firms. We can make sure that we have the right people in the right places. We can ensure that a civilian-oriented land clearing project would bring great rewards in the form of efficient agriculture and increased space for building projects. I'm cool with that. We'd also do employee loyals for infrastructure construction, which I think we're... I'll wait until we get some more production units there. Oh, Bobby Kennedy. Look at that. I think I'll go ahead. I did, over the break, I want to break the whatchamacallit. The stalemate here, so I did boost Sverdlovsk. And just because I think it's going to be funny, or not, maybe not funny, but interesting, I will go ahead and see if I can't. You know, actually, for development, it's probably going to be best at the front. I haven't seen the AB win in a while, though. I kind of want to see that. So, set up an epic battle. Evil against evil and all that. They're evil against good. I'm not going to assume we're going to be evil. Better agricultural methods. Wonderful. For this bread, we thank thee. I've got mass mechanization going. That is nice. Mikhail couldn't help but feel embarrassed as he awaited the tutor that was to begin teaching him Russian. Harry was acting as a contender for leader of all of Russia without so much as a cursory education in the language of the people he was to rule over. His advisors and he had agreed it wasn't a good look. Mikhail knew a few words and phrases, of course. He could even say hello and goodbye, agree and disagree with statements, and even ask for the bathroom. He even understood Russian pretty well, being able to follow the radio programs and speeches the government played. Unfortunately, his ability to produce Russian was simply lacking. In truth, part of him had resisted taking the time to learn the language, though. He had found himself changing recently. He had seen subjects for who they really were, hardworking, caring, and accepting people. People who would band together to build a farm after a raid and house refugees from the east even if they didn't have the food or money to do so. People who had accepted him. And Mikhail had also seen exactly who would rule these lands if he were to leave. Many would have entire villages sacked if it meant rooting out even one perceived enemy. And they all seemed to have a lot of enemies. He began to feel a responsibility to these generous folks who had hosted him here. He was staying here for them, and every day seemed increasingly possible he might actually end up ruler of Russia. He needed to be ready for that day. So he sat, prop paper in hand, an eye on the clock, his foot tapping as he pondered the people of Chita. Suddenly he heard the door click and a man come in. He looked over at Mikhail and gave a smile. Privet, Mikhail. Pritsupim. There we go. Doing over here? I think it's time. Yep, we could begin drilling. Some miscellaneous revenue from that. I think we'll do that. You can also expand out some roads. We'll do both of those. Government victory in Haiti. There we go. Do military austerity again. And then see if I can do a tax hike. We're doing okay growth-wise. I want to minimize the deficit. We get as much as we can. Let's improve the methods. As was proven in the past year, war is a rigorous affair, and only the hardiest of men will be capable of facing the horrors that lie within. Preparing these young men for battle through rigorous training is an important step towards hardening both the body and mind for the coming struggles. Sadly, our current regiments are mostly designed with the goal of getting as many recruits through the system and into the fray as quickly as possible. Therefore, the priorities of our approach to training routines have to make a drastic change. Instead of focusing on the bare minimum to increase the quality of new troops, the new drills will focus on building discipline and proficiency. The White Army's recruits will get to terms with the rigors of warfare on the training grounds rather than on the battlefield. Not only will this create a much more disciplined body of soldiers, but would also help build a more professional army. There we go. The luck. Ooh. I have not seen this one before. That's interesting. If self-effacement will further the national cause, I assure that I'm prepared to efface myself completely. I think I love my country sufficiently enough to be able to do this. Subhas Chandra Bose. Truth, God, beauty. That is interesting. Okay. Does this prevent Proto-Pakistan from joining the pact? I think it might. Honestly, that is interesting. We're finishing up some of these. All this Antarctica drama. Alright, let's do... What do we want to do next? Let's do some support weapons. You know, honestly, I don't know if EAB will win even with all the help I've given them. It looks like. I mean, if they can't get it together, then so be it. I thought it would be fun to see them win, but I'm not gonna outright hand them the victory. What do we want to do now? Let's expand the IDC. This establishment of Imperial Development Company has proven to be a great boon to our efforts to transform the wastelands outside Chita into something resembling a modern industrialized region. Now, however, borders have grown to encompass the entire Russian Far East, and the IDC, as it is, cannot efficiently expand operations to the rest of the region. Perhaps a state-sponsored expansion of the IDC is in order. With the help of some generous financial investments from Tsar himself, the IDC will be expanded far beyond their previous capabilities. With the company's aid, we will be able to get the most out of the Far East's hidden industrial potential. Well, there we go. Let's do it. Let's expand the free port of Magadan. A little bit of debt, but it'll unlock the next stage of our development and give us some more naval dockyards, which will be very valuable because we can build out more convoys and pump out, expand the state fishing fleet, and then start selling those convoys for liquid reserves. What do we want to do now? Don't really have much in the way of aircraft, do we? I guess we could do radio detection. I think that would be decent to have. Well, there goes, Ustland. Expand the IDC. Next, let's go ahead and do... Let's do clearing a path. When the Whites had first arrived in Chita, it was but a small beacon of Russian civilization surrounded by the vast ranges of an uninhabitable wasteland that stretched farther than the eye could see. After the establishment of the IDC and their reclamation campaign, we were able to turn it into something far more usable. The results speak for themselves, and it's only natural that we look to the rest of our newly acquired lands to give them the same treatment. Therefore, massive reclamation efforts shall begin to continue what we started in Chita and clear more space for our construction projects. One way or the other, the Siberian wastes will be claimed. Claimed or tamed? Tamed, excuse me. We already claimed them, essentially. Maurice flees to Mexico. Interesting. Why didn't they just shoot him? That's a question, isn't it? I'm gonna be curious to see. Well, first off, I'm wondering when whatchamacallit. Debroya is even coming out. Because they announced it, but they didn't announce when. So, I'm not sure when that'll be happening, but I'm interested to see what's going to come with that. I read the dev diaries. If you didn't see me do that, go ahead and do so. I enjoyed it quite a bit, personally. But, I don't know, it looks like there's some interesting lore tidbits there. I'm not a fan of them just, as far as I can tell, just scrapping the content there, just to set up a few proxy conflicts and not have anything to properly replace it. I'm not huge into that. But the content that looks to be coming, at least lore-wise, seems interesting. Yep, there goes Samara. So that probably means Samara is going to reunify things. Let's get to it. New Siberia. Kirill grunted as he sat down, one of the few opportunities he had to rest after a long day of work. From this elevated position, he could see clearly the results of his day's labor. Vast ranges of landscape, deprived of trees as far as the eye could see, and their place were stumps, like the one he was now using. Here he was, once a son of Siberian wastes and her natural bounties, now doing the bidding of the very men he once tried to resist. Although the pay was very good, Kirill still wondered if it was worth selling his soul and helping them destroy forests similar to the ones he had called home. As Kirill lit a cigarette, his mind continued to wander. Siberia was a vast land, but even the seemingly endless forests of a land like this were finite in the grand scheme of things. The IDC tore into the wilderness like a pack of wolves, ripping down forests and transforming wide tracts of wilderness into featureless plains of grass. Kirill wondered if in the future there would even be any forest left once the IDC was done. He'd been born and raised a man of the wilds, living off the land and appreciating what nature had to offer. Civilization was overrated as far as Kirill was concerned, and he hoped that more people would come to appreciate its beauty. The problem with this, however, was that the pay was no good. In the end, even a wild beast like Kirill was tempted by the IDC's offer of wealth. Far in the future, would Kirill's children be able to experience the same life that he once did? Putting out a cigarette, Kirill ceased his thoughts and headed off to his shift for the day. The price of progress. Let's transform the wastes. The endless expanses of the woodlands are slowly but surely being pushed back and transformed into something that can actually be of some use to the Empire. Great quantities of prime real estate have already been cleared for the construction and exploitation. All that remains now is to put it to use. These empty spaces soon become home to the Far East's burgeoning industry. Once the proper infrastructure is developed, we can begin filling the new spaces with all sorts of productive enterprises. Factories, mines, and arms manufacturers shall be the order of the day. Although we cannot ever hope to compete with the industrial centers further west, the results of reclamation efforts do not look as bleak as we previously assumed. There we go. I mean, that's really all we can hope for. Be able to compete. There goes the turkey lore. What do we have going on here? Nascent healthcare. Our poverty's going up a little bit. Not a big fan of that, but democracy returns to Italy. There we go. That'll be nice, at least. Trial by fire. I like that. That's funny. Wonder if any country actually is a trial by fire at the start. Alright, let's get some more convoys going. How are we doing elsewhere? Okay, so we have some more basic development stuff. Nothing too crazy, it seems. Let's develop Magadan for some larger scale shipping. think that'll be very valuable right off the bat. What are the downsides of the admin? Overextension. They're certainly not good. Stability hits, consumer goods, group population. Let's work on some oppositional remnants. Clear out some of these. Well, the Imperial Army did well to trump the forces of our enemies on the field. It's proven frustrated in the aftermath of our victories that the most dedicated of our insurgents don't lay down their weapons. Communists bomb factories and cars in Irkutsk. Presidents roam the far north, shooting any czar soldier they can get their hands on, and fascist cells in Blagoveshchensk and its environs lynch our administrators, leaving them hanging in public parks and outside of their homes. This won't do. Increased patrols need to be implemented, and dissenters need to be shot or sent to labor camps. No more trials, no more leniency. They won't extend the same courtesy to us. Yeah, that's all probably fair, honestly. How is our economy turning out? We still got the yearly deficit. Indira Gandhi, well, that won't be awkward at all. No, no, no. Buy up inflation all the way. That's not going to do much. I probably should have upped it earlier while we still had a minor deficit, like a 0.1. That way I could have done a bit more with that. That's okay, though. We'll just have to sort our way out of it. Complete and fleet mobilization. That's not going to do too much. I'll do that. Is there anything here we can do that won't increase our debt? There's this one. Yeah, we'll do that. Why not? I want to get some more production units in the meanwhile. Because I would like to start building out the rest of these. Positional remnants are done. Refugees band of skilled. What do we got? What does that do for us? Social policies. Sort of laws. That's not going to do much for us. The economic. Makes sense in economic. Political. Okay, yeah. Those borders. Probably head down to skilled labor, honestly. That'll probably help us out a bit more in the long term. That extra revenue would probably be okay as well. Not that I'm too worried about that. Honestly, let's go for the resources first. Maybe head all the way down to birth of the industry. or of an industry, excuse me. It's too rich as the Far East. The Far East has been the poorest, long been the poorest, most sparsely populated region of Russia. No real economy to speak of. We'll have to get creative and make the best of what is available. Despite appearances, this long neglected region has much to offer. Hidden beneath the frozen soil and the Siberian permafrost lies a great bounty of natural wealth, the vast majority of which has gone unclaimed for centuries. With our control over the region secured, unearthing these underground treasures must be an absolute priority. Exiting infrastructure will be adapted to our purposes, and extensive mining operations will be established in regions that have long been overlooked. Bear cementing our mastery over the unruly Russian Far East. There we go. When it was first proclaimed, most people in the Far East regarded the principality as an oddity. As a doomed attempt to restore Russian monarchism, the last gasp of an ever-shrinking clique of desperate old men. These people have been proven wrong. With the return of the trappings of the empire to Siberia, so too do the activities of distinguished bloodlines. Activities such as the banquet that had been announced by two scions of those very bloodlines. Attended by the rapidly expanding upper crust of Chita society, it had been announced as a refined engagement in support and praise of the Tsar and his efforts to expand the imperial lands. As so many such events in the old empire had been, however, it quickly deteriorated as the wine and liquor began to flow freely. The first activities the scions organized were fairly tame. Cards and other games of chance, accompanied by heavy gambling, of course. As the level of inebriation increased, and as the wagers grew, the competition grew more intense, with outcomes that would not be subsequently spoken of in polite company. By night's end, several small fortunes have been won and lost, reputations have been built and tarnished, and as all the esteemed guests and scions themselves could agree with the next morning, a great time was had by all. Long last proper society had returned to Chita. It's more like the old Russia every day. Restoration programs to boost resource game, and these would probably be okay to get going then, even with a little bit of debt, because we'll get some money back. Let's expand resource extraction in the Irkutsk area. Now everything I do to help the AI just seems to do nothing. At this point, it's really just going to be me versus Siberia, isn't it? There's going to be a real battle there, and then the rest is just going to be a fucking flustercluck. Which is the Far East. There we go. I don't like this, but I guess we're going to have to do it. Let's exploit the prisoners. As a consequence of a region being so lightly populated, vast workforce isn't exactly something that's easily available to us. Our interest in exploiting the nature of the Far East and eventual beginnings industrialization efforts will fall woefully short of their goals. We don't have a reliable labor pool to back it up. Our chief of staff, poor Shapanov, has proposed a controversial solution. He believes that the vast number of prisoners taken during the wars to reunify the region are serving little use sitting in prison, and to be better utilized by putting them to work. Although some concerned ministers have pointed out such an idea would be immoral, it's worth remembering that these fascists and Bolsheviks would have very well inflicted the same treatment upon us, given the chance. I mean, I suppose they're not wrong, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. Sending out some more roads. Improve GDP in the process. Have we finished training these guys? We're still stuck on grain, so I don't even know if training's doing anything. I'm just gonna stop that. Oh, we got some excavation opportunities. So we have the mirror excavation. It seems the more pessimistic geologies were correct so far. As few minerals are within our reach, a significant amount of valuable ores are located so far north and in conditions that are so inhospitable that it makes any kind of mining operations impossible. We have found areas where diamonds fit for industrial use can be excavated in large quantities to be somewhat profitable. By mining more equipment, bringing in more equipment, the Murney mine ought to be fully operational within half a year. Yeah, let's do it. We also have this one. It'll be hard to turn a profit with our current equipment. The discovery of yet another diamond pipe outside the Arctic Circle has made it obvious that it's at the very least a worthwhile long-term investment. Setting up a permanent presence in the area will begin the long process of turning these fields into proper pit mines for large-scale excavations. Facilitate this large state funds will be invested to improve the old Soviet railroads in the region to help with the transportation of goods to and from these industrial centers. To facilitate this large-scale... I read that, my bad. With that, we can consider the Sac expedition to be been a costly success, but a success nonetheless that will help pay off in the long term. There we go. I believe that's also helping out with railroads and supplies up in this area, which is going to be huge. Economy. Do some more military austerity as well. Did I dare do civilian austerity? No. From head to toe, Semyon's body ached. He'd been working in a bauxite mine from dawn to dusk and only now managed to find time to regain his bearings. Outside that damned hole he'd spent all day in. Once an officer in the NKVD, Semyon was now no better than a slave to his captors, certainly not the glory and ambition, to say the least. Slacking you off again, Red? The familiar voice made Semyon groan. At least I know when to stop before I drive myself mad. Fascist. Didn't even bother to look at who shot the snide greeting his way. The fascist, a large fellow named Anatoly, chuckled as he took a seat next to Semyon. They intend to work us to death, you know. I've seen a few guys drop already. The guards didn't even care. They just walked past like nothing happened. Semyon had seen it too. Men too weak for hard labor with a gun to their back, collapsing hopelessly in a place with no light. I know it's worse. Working with dead men walking or working with fascists like you, Anatoly. Doesn't matter who we're Bolshevik. All they see are bodies for the mines. We're brothers down here, whether we like it or not. With that, Anatoly made his way back towards the mine entrance with his tools in hand. Deep down, Semyon knew he spoke the truth. Part of him hoped that his former enemy would come back out of that pit alive. Bitter foes, stuck in the same boat. There we go. We can build more convoys now. Let's do birth of an industry. To the best of our abilities, the harsh wastelands of the Far East have been tamed. Vast ranges of featureless tundra have been cleared for our ambitious new construction projects. Newly established mines are hard at work ensuring we have a numerous supply of natural wealth at our disposal. All that remains now is to put all this new space to good use. It won't be easy, but the Far East must be industrialized if we are to stand any chance against our rivals to the West. Through toil and sweat, we shall give birth to a Siberian industrial powerhouse of our own. Excellent. Okay, we're building none of these right now. I just noticed. Will this apply to convoys? I think it might. I'm not sure. But I think it might. Oh, well, you look at that. I helped out Sverdlovsk and fucking Omskwins. This is my curse. Whenever I try to help someone out, they just make things worse for themselves. That's overly dramatic. That's not true in real life. It's only true in the game. Birth Industry's done. modern Zemstva. That might be good. Let's do that, yeah. The Far East has been long and vastly unruly. Long been a vast and unruly region, and even with our limited size, governing this massive stretch of territory is proving to be a challenge indeed. If we continue to use the same system of governance once utilized during our struggle against the Reds and Fascists, our economy will surely begin to face drastic consequences for our inactions. Ivan Mikhailov, Minister of Finance, has proposed a solution that comes straight from the long and celebrated history of our empire. The thousands of towns and villages of our state shall have their voices heard and their labor concerns considered via a system of local councils, modeled after the imperial Zemstvo system. Mikhailov believes that these modern Zemska will take a considerable amount of strain off our administration and better organize our peasants and workers of Russia. That I can get behind. How's our economy doing? The deficit's up. Let's try the tax hike again. We're getting to a point where we might actually balance out things here. Okay, we'll expand the state fishing fleet. Front victory in West Africa. Alright, let's see. It's been introduced. Increase birth by 10%. Active remigration program. Starting to bear fruit. Let us expand this program. We'll also escalate the migration program. Some extra admin efficiency going as well. How's our admin coming along? Pretty well. I think we'll get it boosted up soon enough. That'll up our tax, as well as take away from some of this bad stuff. I think once we get this up, we might actually get in the green. Now, when it comes to all that. So I should probably actually focus on getting this finished up. Let's do the Imperial Governing Committee. The same individuals who proposed splitting up our territory in autonomous provinces have also come to propose the so-called Imperial Governing Committee, which would have the ultimate oversight over these provinces and take the strain of individual decisions off of our government. The IGC would answer directly to us, but would already taken considerable strain off of our already overloaded ministers. This IGC is, as they'd say, a no-brainer. However, there's been some debate over how to exactly implement this committee. This has led to the increasingly worrying split between the military hardliners who want to control it and the quieter industrialists who seek to experience an IGC free from military experience. It looks like we're going to have to make a choice here. I've deliberately kind of... Well, actually, I haven't. I've done some of these decisions already. Not that they've really done much, but... You know what I mean. But I think... We're getting to the point where we might want to just go ahead and start working on some other stuff. Let's get the research going. Start working towards the more modern stuff. Looks like we're going to have an epic battle to reunify the Russia out here. I don't think we can peacefully unify with any of these guys, now that I think about it. The recent establishment of the Imperial Governing Committee to aid with administrative matters of the Empire, a mad scramble for control over the new organization has already begun. The interest groups who dominate the political scene have their eyes upon the committee, eager to pack it with their allies. First are the industrialists who represent the loyalists. This group mostly consists of wealthy aristocrats and businessmen who are keen to utilize the committee to expand their business interests in the Empire. Also among this group are close political allies and confidants of Tsar Mikhail II. Control of the committee would surely mean expansion of the crown's influence. On the other hand, politicians and military men allied to the White Army also seem to bring the IGC under their control. The majority of these men have connections to the White Army's General Staff, and by extension, Army Chief of Staff Boris Shepinov. The IGC fall under the military's influence. Shepinov's power will once again be cemented over Master State. Who shall dominate the committee? We should do the industrialists. Because the economic benefits there just seem better, I'll be real. What do we want to do next? The GDP growth there would actually be nice. It would put us over to 4 billion. We'd almost get over to $1 billion of debt, though. But not quite. Huh. Are we finally going to get a negative poverty? Nope, we're still increasing that. I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not. Let's see. That's right, we kind of got cocked by that random glitch that downgraded our research facilities. Because that also reset all the bonuses we were getting. Let's see, when are we going to... Expertise and equipment. Equipment's about to be boosted up. Let's do some more political stuff for now, I suppose. The cultists, the fascists, and the Reds. Sounds like a punchline for a joke. There are 3 groups that still remain essential threats to our nation: the communists, the cultists, and the fascists. Each one of them has a unique flavor of danger, but all 3 represent an ongoing low-level insurgency following our conquest. That being said, we don't need to stand idly by as these terrorists and dissenters continue to bloody our streets and murder our supporters. We will fight them in the streets, draw the guerrillas out, and terrorize the terrorists. We cannot let them know that we are weak. We shall only respond to their terror with terror in kind. Ominous. Their temperament's bipolar, and they chose violence. Well, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes now, isn't it? Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. I think that is all the time I have for, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and leave things there. I'm going to sell some convoys first. That will, well, look at that. I'm going to leave things there. Thank you as always for watching, my friends. I like to leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. Leave me comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I read all comments I get, and I do appreciate any feedback you might have for me. Have a sub on the notification bell. Keep up to date with these uploads as they come out. Check out my various links on the description box below. Leaving comments, feedback down in the comment section below. And yeah, I'll leave things there for now. Thanks always for watching, my friends. My name has been Mr. Dogbot333. I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.